Hello and welcome to the Culture and Cannabis podcast. I am your host, Derek Gumman, filling in for Tony and JC. They're off in Oklahoma, running the show out there, making cannabis a thing of the Midwest. Today, though, we have a special guest that is zoomed in all the way from Bend, Oregon. A good friend of mine and also a very talented professional in the cannabis industry. There's a lot of news about his company this week. They hit a huge valuation number. It was worldwide news. The NASDAQ made an announcement today in Times Square. The company I'm talking about is Dutchie. You might know the company for its different logistical things that it does for your software internally at your dispensary. If if you're an owner, you want to have Dutchie as your software. It's integrated in not only your POS, but your online ordering. Fantastic platform. And I don't want to talk about too much of what John is about and what Dutchie is all about. So, John, there he is. Hello, Johnny. How are you?
I'm good, Derek. How you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Good. Yeah, John, it's great to have you here. Again, John Bond with Dutchie. John, what do you do exactly over at Dutchie?
I get to wear the Santa Claus suit at the holiday party. Nah, man, I am the director of partnerships over here. I've held a couple different roles, but all of them have been kind of around our sales team and building our revenue pipeline. I think I was our 14th employee about 2.5 years ago. And so, now I focus majority of my time on, maintaining and building our partnerships. We have a lot of integration partners, as you know, over at Planet 13. And so being able to make sure that we're maximizing all the opportunities within our partners and doing a lot of great things that way. So
sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, man, it's a ton of work. And obviously it's been a crazy couple of days with the announcements and everything. But, we're really fortunate. We have a ton of unbelievable people on our team. And, it's a hard work and the culmination of a lot of hard work from a lot of different people that I think is now finally coming to fruition.
Yeah, so let's backtrack a second. So yeah, we're talking about this news here, guys. If you saw Dutchie, you might have saw that they got given a $1.7 billion valuation this week. Dutchie basically acquired Greenbits and LeafLogix, two other software tech companies in cannabis. They raised $200 million, a Series C funding round. 200 million raised, 1.7 billion valuation. This happened about 2 days ago. And now, here we are. St. Pat's was last night. I'm sure you're nursing a hangover from not only the celebration of Dutchie, but also, the celebration of the Irish. But yeah, John, tell me a little bit about what's been going on this week. It's probably been wild for you.
Yeah, man. So we raised our Series C, which was $200 million. That was at a $1.7 billion valuation. Along with that came the acquisition of Greenbits and LeafLogix, which we're really excited about. And, it's been a long time coming. We look at ourselves as stewards of the industry in the sense that, whether somebody finds out about cannabis online ordering through Dutchie or through Weedmaps or through Leafly, we consider that a win because there's someone that found out about online ordering that didn't know about it today. Realistically, we look at our entire mission and mantra is normalizing cannabis and creating easier access to cannabis for consumers by way of our retail partners. And so, with that being our North Star metric over the last couple of years, it only made sense that we would pick up another spoke in the wheel, being a very important one in the cannabis space, as we all know, the point of sale and the seed to sale tracking system. And so there's going to be a lot of capabilities that we're going to be able to push forward on now that we have that type of setup and really give the full, kit and caboodle from like a solution standpoint. So we're really excited. Our employee count went from 176 to 341 overnight.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of things that, ahead of us in terms of getting all the organizations merged together, but we couldn't be more excited to have the Greenbits and LeafLogix team to be a part of the Dutchie fam, and we are now all one fam in itself, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's great. These are all tech companies that have been around for a minute, and being in the cannabis industry in Nevada for a few years, you see these companies, everyone uses them. So it's something special that now that you guys are all one, we have one hub of amazing tech to go to for our in-store needs and for ordering needs. Just so I can like break it down for people a little bit more simpler, John, what is like the watered down version, not like watered down to like downplay what it is, but like in layman's terms, like what is like in a 30-second elevator pitch Dutchie?
So if you think of Dutchie, think of it as like, if you're familiar with Shopify, a Shopify meets DoorDash. So we work with over 2,100 retailers in the US and Canada. Like if you go to our retailer's website, you're going to see a Dutchie menu on there and probably not even know that it's a Dutchie menu. We also have Dutchie.com, which is a marketplace for consumers to visit, and we send orders to the dispensary that way as well too. And so, without advertising Dutchie.com at all, we've actually seen like anywhere between like 11 and 18% traffic to Dutchie.com as organically, right? And so, our whole goal with all of this, right, is being able to create a easier tech stack to deal with for our retailers, because as everyone knows, right, there's a million moving parts in the cannabis retail front. And so being able to cut out a couple headaches and integrations are crazy. Fortunately, we have an unbelievable team that's able to support those. And so this is, making that process cleaner and easier to work with the retailers.
That's super cool. So from your background, I mean, how have you navigated to find yourself with this Dutchie fam? I mean, this is, I don't know if you're a big tech guy. I think you are a big tech guy. If I know John Bond, big tech guy. But I've known you for a while now, and you didn't come from tech necessarily. For those out there who are wondering, John's in a great place now. His company's got this huge valuation. But John's a peer of mine, and so like for this to happen, it could happen to anybody. So John, I want to kind of go back a little bit into just like your background and where you came from, and give the floor is yours.
Totally. So I actually was in tech prior to cannabis, believe it or not. I got my start in enterprise SaaS, and it took me for probably about 7 years. I was about 26, 27 years old. Moved to Vegas in 2015 to try and get in front of medical cannabis, knowing that they just passed a medical program. I'd kind of gotten bored with corporate America. I was the director of sales for an enterprise HR tech company. And while that was a really cush life and it was, fun, and in terms of like, jobs, I guess I could put them up there with the best of them. I really had a passion for cannabis, and I wanted to make a move there. So ended up helping get a cultivation off the ground in the super early days of rec. My partner in that, Adam, is now back in Missouri. We're both Kansas City kids, and he's the COO of a shop that's got 14 licenses across the retail, cultivation, and production side. And so we built that cultivation pretty much from the ground up. I want to say is, and Gumman, I know you were familiar with the facility, but it was really a step above a parking garage when we got there. And so we took that from, that to 65 employees, and we were really lucky to work with probably like 40 dispensaries in the state of Nevada, and built an incredible business out of it. And unfortunately, the ownership out of Toronto that had funded getting that off the ground kind of got to odds with each other and ended up kind of falling apart. And unfortunately, as much as you would love for everything being done the right way, having all the success, exactly, you gotta, I think it was like, you got to always plan for the rainy day. And so luckily that success story led into other things. And I met our co-founders of Dutchie right before our seed round closed, actually. And our CEO started one of the first online food ordering companies when he was like 19. So I know that he and our other co-founder, Zach, had experience in scaling a consumer-facing e-commerce technology. And my time in tech had made me already like super skeptical of tech startups. Especially cannabis tech startups. As we've seen, there's a lot of really great concepts. Execution doesn't really run that high in the space. And so, in meeting those two, and they headhunted me, I had an opportunity to get to know them a little better. And then right after they closed their seed round, we got very serious in the conversations, and I started with the Dutchie team in November of 2018. And then it's been, the rocket ship ever since. I moved to Bend 8 months later and left Las Vegas. I was in Vegas for 4.5 years. It's always going to be a place that I consider home, as well as like friends like you and other friends that I've been able to make along the way in the Canna fam. And so I've been in Bend now for almost 2.5 years. So it's been a wild ride, man, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, really, it really has. It's funny you're talking about tech startups, and I couldn't help but think about like another tech startup actually that you and I frequent quite often. And you're talking about CannaFam, and it's nice to be able to keep in touch with those that maybe you don't live near anymore. And the app Clubhouse actually is a crazy new like fad, or I don't know if it's a fad or if it's not. It's hard to tell. I don't know if it's the next Vine or what, but it's captivating people worldwide. And we found, a lot of different places on Clubhouse where there's a lot of voices that you would have otherwise never been able to hear had it not been for the app. So, and it keeps you in touch again with your CannaFam in Nevada, John. So, John, I see in the chat rooms all the time. He's a big chat guy. And he's in there. He's wheeling and dealing, and it's been great. John, what are like some, like, for people who don't know Clubhouse, by the way, it's basically imagine if Twitter was just people speaking like on a podcast with no video. So you get to hear people's thoughts and feelings and emotions and ideas, and you have the opportunity to speak alongside them or just listen. But the facts are, I think what it's doing is starting a conversation. So John, what are you finding is like, some of the best takeaways that you've had? You spent a lot of time in these rooms. What are some of the takeaways that you can really get, and some of your personal experiences?
Totally. I mean, number one takeaway, and this is something that I've known my entire life through a career in sales, but people love to talk about themselves, right? But
No.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's super interesting. In terms of Clubhouse, I think the reason why it's had such a successful takeoff, obviously the pandemic, it kind of spawned out of the ability to not be in person, connecting, communicating with one another. But like when you take the video aspect out of it, like you watch me looking up here and I'm thinking, you would never see that on Clubhouse, right? And like, if I can sit there and look like a bridge troll in gym shorts and a t-shirt and you're directly connected to somebody's mind, you have no idea, right? Like it removes like it allows you to be more vulnerable in terms of like communicating with someone, and you're really just communicating with like their actual personality and what they think. And it removes the judgment of like, what are they doing on video? How do I look on video? And it's been really cool. I've been on it now for a couple months, and I've admittedly not been on as much in the last couple weeks because obviously we've had a lot of things going on, but like, it's really, I think in the cannabis industry specifically, it's actually super, super valuable. Now I've peeked my head into other rooms where they're talking about like crypto and like whatever else. And it's like, sure, that's super cool, but there's a ton of toxicity in all of those, right? Like you just see like hate groups in rooms of people just bashing on people and talking shit. And I'm like, that's wild. And like you get into these cannabis rooms and, a lot of it, and we all know this and being in the space, like, cannabis is a 6 degrees of separation industry, right? We all know
probably less.
A lot of the movers and shakers. Totally. The movers and shakers all know each other through a couple different people. And so a lot of the folks in there, like are people that we're friends with or that we've had business relationships with up to this point. But there's also the opportunity to connect with those that you wouldn't see more than once a year, like at a trade show, at Hall of Flowers, at MJ BizCon. And you hear a lot of like, at least in cannabis, right? Like, we all know the voicemail and email game in cannabis, right? It's not the most, successful in terms of means of communication to connect with someone. And it's not by any like, intention of people. We're just all always really busy, always dealing with fires, always trying to plug holes in the boat, because when one hole plugs, the other one pops up in the back. And so like days get busy. And I've noticed like, you'll hear someone say, hey, I have a cultivation facility in Massachusetts. I'm trying to connect with someone that can get me some, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, actually, I know this person. Let me put you in touch with this person. Boom, let's connect offline. And I've seen commerce happening in there, which is unbelievable, because you have an opportunity to connect with people that when you get away from the shuffle of the day-to-day, it's really cool. Now, all that being said, they've opened the doors a little bit, and Clubhouse has become, more popular and more accessible. And I'll say it, and I say it always, anything that monetizes in a social way ends up turning to shit eventually. So who knows how long it's going to be great for. But ultimately, like, it's a really cool way and a unique way to like connect with people on a professional and informal level at the same time. Because you got LinkedIn, which is like straight professional, but there's no like means of instant communication there. And so now you'll see kind of a shift. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who are some of the types of people that that are in there, and like, I mean, like, there's notable people. This isn't just something that guys like us are using. There's major celebrities.
Totally.
Who are some of the people that have that you've spoken to personally and have had the privilege of being on that platform there with your name? And I know one guy I saw. I'll let you say who that was. But who are some of the people that you really gravitate to on Clubhouse?
Honestly, I love thought leaders in any space, even if it's not just cannabis. I feel like anybody that is willing to put themselves out there and say, this is my thoughts on something, and here's how I think we should do it publicly, as opposed to being wishy-washy on taking a direction on something, is always super impressive to me. I've met a ton of, for example, Sherbinski, right? Mario Sherbinski, the founder of Gelato. The dude is a legend in the space, and he's on there hanging with people in Clubhouse. You got Dr. Dina, who the show Weeds was based after, right? Dina Browner. She is an absolute legend. You've got people like, Todd McCormick, who was one of the first pediatric cancer patients for cannabis, and then was just a freedom fighter through all the Prop 215, 64 stuff in California. And so it's so interesting to connect with those types of people. And they've been, to hear someone share their experiences, and it allows people to hear the thoughts of those, you'll see the Elon Musk on their show. I know Derek was referring to, there was one night we were having a casual conversation amongst people, and Gary Vee jumps in the room, and all of a sudden 2,000 people follow after that. And all of a sudden cannabis has got 2,000 more eyes on it than, ever before, at least in that particular sense. And so it's been really cool. Now there's also a fair amount of flexing in there too. And I've said
Big
this
flexing.
So many times, big flexing. And it's I've always said this, and I will say it to the day that I die, and probably living in Vegas highlighted this more than anything. The people I'm most impressed by and I respect the most never had to tell me how great they were.
Yeah.
You just know, right? Honestly, I look at our CEO and CPO, and they're two of the most impressive people I've ever met in my life. We're all wearing the same, someone was like, so what was it like to go out and raise $200 million? And how did you guys approach it differently? And I was like, we wore the same T-shirts and hats that we wore. We went and raised 35 about 6 months ago. So we're still doing things the exact same way. And it's you would never know that either one of those guys, they've had the success they had prior to Dutchie or today. And the people that impress me in that space, and especially in Clubhouse, are humble, right? And there's not a lot of humble in there, right? But at the same time, it's it's really cool to see someone from Cleveland be able to jump up and say, hey, Mario from Sherbinski's, I'm trying to grow this, and what would you recommend here? And him participate and be super cool about that. And it's that's a really rad thing that I don't think exists in any other social media medium at all.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I mean that's what this show is about as well. This podcast is just giving voices to people you would otherwise not have been able to hear. JC and Tony have done a great job cultivating, I think, an awesome lineup of incredible human beings down the line. And back to Tony and JC, you're probably are you in all 50, well, any state operating in cannabis? Are you there? Are there any states you're not in?
No, we're in 36 states plus about every province in Canada that allows online ordering.
So Tony and JC are in Oklahoma. What is some advice you can give guys? And they're not the only ones I know. And I got another buddy, Nicky. He's down there trying to make it big with some farm. And the Oklahoma market, it is the Wild West. You got $3,000, or I think it's even $2,500. You can apply, and that's really all you need. So you can imagine the gold rush to get there, right? The green rush, so to speak. But maybe you can give some insight into that market a little bit for those, who are following Tony and JC on their travels and, kind of what they're documenting. For those of you who don't know, John might be the perfect guy to give a little insight on that market.
Totally. Yeah, it is absolutely the Wild West. And honestly, I love Tony and JC. Obviously, I've been on the podcast before, and those guys have been friends for a while. And I love seeing them take off the culture in cannabis as a cannabis brand as well, which has been really exciting. So no one more deserving than that than those two.
Oh,
but
100%.
Especially in a market like Oklahoma, right? I kind of equate it so I went to an open enrollment college. I played baseball for 4 years, and the joke about Missouri Western was that, pay your fees, get your D's, Missouri Western State University, right? And you had to still be smart to graduate, but anybody had an opportunity to get there. I look at Oklahoma in a similar light, right? Yes, if you have a spot-free criminal background, you got $2,500, you can get a cannabis license. But the fundamental aspects of what make this business and this industry turn are still the same, in that you've got to have outstanding relationships with your manufacturers and cultivation providers, right? You've got to be able to have a solid go-to-market strategy from a pricing standpoint that's better than I'm going to be cheaper than the next person, right? And then you ultimately have to scale well. I think in any business, and especially in cannabis, you see these companies that come in and they do a really great job initially, and then they just fall off. And you're like, what happened to them? And a lot of times that's due to scaling issues, right? You make decisions along the way, and like we say it all the time at Dutchie, everybody's great until they have to scale, right? And so you can get to scale very quickly in Oklahoma if you have capital behind you and you're able to go in and build those relationships. But as an open playing field, anybody has an opportunity to do a great job. And then a lot of times varying degrees of success come from individual people, right? Like if I were to own a cannabis dispensary or a chain, right? Like it would be, I see some of the things that like, knowing the moving parts that Planet 13 being like one of the most impressive retail experiences that exists in the most impressive in the world. And the fact that you guys are going to replicate that, right? Then thinking about other chains that have 90 dispensaries under their umbrella, like that is crazy, right? And so for me as like a cannabis, advocate and passionate about the industry, like give me 2 dispensaries that I run very well that are like the Cheers of dispensaries, right? I want to know every single customer's name. I want to build a business that's insulated because we have regular customers. And you can do that, especially in the Midwest, right? Because ultimately what you see in states like Oregon and California and Washington is like dispensary across from dispensary, both trying to outdo each other and sell products for cheaper, right? That ultimately also certainly exists in Oklahoma, but you can avoid that by playing the buy-sell game the right way and making sure you have a solid customer base. And so that would be number one. And then number 2, never be afraid to like seek advice or employ those that have done it before, but be wary of the cannabis consultant, right? Because we know there's a lot of cannabis consultants out there. It's like, dude, you lived in a van in Long Beach for 4 years and grew weed in your buddy's house. It doesn't mean you know how to scale a grow in a 40,000 square foot facility, And so making sure you're taking the right advice from the right people would also be a huge piece of that as well.
Well, great insight from the great John Bond. John, we've had a great time here today. I wanted to kind of leave it on, maybe like a future uplifting, what do you got going on next? What's next for Canna John? By the way, that's his Instagram, CANNAJON _. Don't forget the underscore.
Underscore. We're still, the ongoing legal battle for the no underscore name is still happening on Instagram. But
what is this legal battle? John apparently is in some legal battle with some Italian. Could you elaborate a little bit on this?
There's no legal battle. There's a dude in Italy that has the name Canna John without the underscore. And I've been trying to buy his handle from him, and I've been going up in $5 increments for the last 3 months. And I'm like, hey, dude, how about $25? And he's like, no, it's my surname. And I'm like, how about $30? And so he's going to crack eventually. There is no legal battle. I just probably should put that out there. I am involved in no legal disputes at the moment. But no, dude, in terms of what's next, we have a really exciting, really fast-paced road ahead of us in getting our 3 companies, kind of merged together and moving in the same direction. And, so getting into the flying V as fast as possible is numero uno in terms of Dutchie.
Mighty Ducks reference, just for those out there, Mighty Ducks reference. Go ahead.
Totally. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and if you don't know the Mighty Ducks, then, I don't know, but it's one of those things that
Gordon
it's
Bombay.
A super important Gordon Bombay, the Mighty Ducks, man. He tips his hat like this. It's unbelievable. And, no, so that's going to be a really exciting thing. And there's going to be a lot of really cool things we're going to do capability wise because of it. I know another thing that we're going to be focused on is more brand centric solutions and like direct to consumer and helping clean that up. I know that one of the biggest problems in cannabis is the lack of standardization around data. And so the amount of things that we could solve by helping the industry standardize some of that data is incredibly impactful. And so that's been a lot of the feedback that we've been getting from our retail partners and the brands that we talk to. And so knowing that D2C is going to be the future of just about everything, we're attached to our brands in cannabis, unlike any other industry. We're doing some really cool things in that department as well, too. And then obviously, at least for me personally, man, we got about another month and a half of snowboarding season. So
Yeah.
when I'm not sleeping under my desk at the office, I'm trying to get to the mountain as much as possible.
Amen to that.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Well, it's been great hanging with you, John. I will be skiing next weekend, and you'll be missed. I know you've got some plans on the coast, maybe some beach time.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Hey.
Yeah, man. I'm going to miss you guys, man. But
is your birthday coming up?
Yeah, my birthday's at the end of the month, man. And so my girlfriend and I are heading to the coast, and we are going to have a nice little spot down there and just relax for a couple days and, maybe wild out a little bit. But I will definitely miss the boys in the last ski trip there. But yeah, man, it's going to be a good time.
You'll be missed. And ladies, if you heard that, girlfriend, all right? So don't go shooting in that Canada John like DM there. I know what you guys are thinking. Girlfriend, he said. All right?
Totally. Yeah,
John,
you don't want to meet her like that. She's tough, man. You don't want to meet her like that. I'm just saying.
Oh, Christ. Well, hey, man, it's been a pleasure to have you. Where Dutchie, is it at Dutchie Instagram? Is that where they can check it out for those of you who are interested in checking out John's company a little bit?
Yeah, man, we're it's actually We Are Dutchie. Dutchie. We've also got Dutchie.com as well too. And so, feel free to reach out to myself, Dutchie. We've been really fortunate to work with a lot of really great retail partners, and it's given us an opportunity to do a lot of really cool things. So I'll be back in Vegas for 420, man. And if anyone's around, can't wait to see him and sesh for the holiday for sure.
Great to hear it. Well, always a pleasure, John. Thank you again for being here. And thank all of you for also being here this week. JC and Tony will be back, as far as I know, next week. Look at this. I'm losing my earpiece already. The show's not over yet, Derek. They'll be back next week. Tune in then. Again, this is the Culture and Cannabis Podcast. My name is Derek Gumman, Derek Las Vegas on Instagram. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.